We must think about the one real issue. Is there some glyphosates which are being allowed to be used as herbicides, as a total herbicides, and are they good for human well-being? We had a lawsuit in California that man was awarded millions of dollars for damages because of
from Roundup. Yeah.
From Roundup.
Yeah.
That's this glyphosate total herbicide. And the question would be, but why government doesn't forbid such herbicide? Or for example, you can see that many antidepressants have created people insane behavior, suicides, murders. We have seen that majority of mass shootings, when you go deep, if you study them, you will realize that these people who committed them were taking antidepressants. So why would government push antidepressants as a solution? Or for example, you have situation of ibuprofen. It's analgesic, very painkiller, very common. And his effect on children, or better said, on a fetus which develops, is very questionable. Even in the recipe, they write it's not good to take it in the last trimester of pregnancy, this painkiller. But if something is not good at the end of pregnancy, is it good on the beginning of pregnancy? And what many women don't realize is that they are used to take painkillers, they don't realize that they are pregnant, they still take them, and later they can realize, hey, there may be, for example, a double increased risk of spontaneous abortion. There may be some deformities in a child. But of course, the studies which would imply such results, it's very hard to see them in the mainstream media. Simply, if there is a study which is affirmative for pharma, big pharma, they would publish it. But if the study is a negative, it's very hardly it would see the light of the day. Why? Because big pharma is financing studies. And so, like, if you ask big pharma if there can be any side effects for the baby, if this ibuprofen is used within the first 6 months of pregnancy, I guess they would say no, and they will not warn you on the package. But if you see into some studies, you will see it might be dangerous for your child. And this is just a small example of bad regulation, in my opinion, which had in the end resulted with human tragedies. Same with this herbicide Roundup. So when somebody asks, like, why would government work against its people? Well, why not? If people on the top of power are corrupt, and if they have interest in some agenda, although it's against the people, they would comply with it, and they would do it. And I will tell you one thing. Do you know why many American women were saved from thalidomide poisoning from deformed children?
No, go on.
Because in the rest of the world, these people who would have to approve such medicine, which in the end everybody realized it was poisonous, the babies were deformed heavily, people would very easily allow this medicine to go into popular use. And in America, there was one female, I think she was a doctor, and she said, I am not convinced that there are no side effects. Can you imagine? And one woman did all she could for a year to stop this drug to get into market. And on that way, when people already began to realize the connection of thalidomide use and baby deformities, at that moment she saved thousands of American children from the same fate. Why? Because she was good, she was honest, and I think her second name was Kelly, I'm not sure. People should Google that out. And people like her, they are few in this world now. Because whoever is just, whoever is following his conscience, he's being removed. I will tell you one important issue. when John Viripen, this doctor, when he brought his child to pediatric, and they wanted to vaccine the child, and he said, no, like, it's a healthy child, I don't want to vaccine him. And the doctor went crazy, and she said, if you don't want to take vaccine, look for another doctor, get out. And he said, when she told me that, I realized the way I was putting pressure on doctors to prescribe these so-called drugs, legal drugs. And he said basically that they are not behaving like that because it's their opinion. They are behaving like that because they have been in some way either intimidated or bribed or whatever, because if they had the knowledge of side effects which can come with vaccines, I'm not sure they would push people into taking that. And in Croatia, for example, one girl, she took vaccine, her hair was gone till today. Little girl, no hair. She looks like she has leukemia. But what happened? She took the vaccine, and the government gives no compensation at all. So if you get screwed up by vaccines, they say, hey, that's your problem. But when the profit is being divided, they share the cake altogether.
Oh yeah, of course they do, yeah. We actually still have a fund here in the UK, which makes me laugh because I've had conversations with people before who say that there's no side effects to vaccine, there's no side effects, and I say, well, explain this government page then. There's a government page where you explain the side effects and you get your compensation. That page wouldn't exist if there weren't any side effects.
Well, it's logical. If there are side effects obvious, how can they say there are no side effects? But the reason why they do it is because the only way they can push their agenda is if people are not questioning. And anything which may turn people into questioning is being silenced. So any kind of opposition is being just lowered down, I would say. And on our TV, in Croatia, they make a discussion about vaccination, but how this discussion looks like, they bring 4 people who support mandatory vaccination, and they discuss with each other and they all agree. So the first, I would say, the democracy is the first victim of such system, because in a democratic society, people would have to be free to discuss. And in this mainstream media, big pharma business, you can't discuss. And why you can't discuss? What do you think, Jamie? Look at the commercials.
Yeah,
look how many big pharma commercials they are. They say, oh, you have a headache, it can be poof, gone. You just take ibuprofen. Or for example, you can't sleep. Oh, you just take this. Or for example, you feel depressed, you feel low mood. Man, we have instant solution for you. Just take this drug, And these drugs are heavily being marketed, and as a result of it, there are many people who are killed by those drugs every year. There are many people who have horrific side effects, but they don't care. Why? Because they have profit, and as long as they have profit, their worry for human life is non-existent or very, very little. And even when you get screwed up by these legal drugs and vaccines, they always say, oh, it's your fault, like it has something to do with you, it doesn't have to do with drugs. Although before administering those drugs you have been a healthy person and afterwards you are sick, but they try to escape from responsibility, and by repeating that drugs are safe, they are basically influencing on people not to report side effects, because people would say, oh, the hair didn't fall off for this vaccine that I got 2 weeks ago, it fell off because on its own, That's the way they want people to think.